So I already did a video on the Dragon Slayers of Fairy Tail, and that did relatively well, so I decided to try and do another type of Slayer magic for my next explained video, and I ended up going with God Slayers, as they were introduced around chapter 217 with Zonkro from Grimoire Heart when he went to face off against Natsu, and from that point onwards, we've seen only 2 other examples of God Slayers in the story of Fairy Tail. Now I'm going to go over what God Slayers are, the current types of God Slayer magic that we have right now, and what I believe could have been the origins of God Slayers. I'll explain what I mean by that in just a second. But before we get into this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I'm making on the channel and shows you want to see more. I love the Fairy Tail Fridays and Fairy Tail Explained videos. There are a lot more, and I got bigger ones coming as well, so look forward to that. Now, really quick, just want to say that in Fairy Tail, in the story at the moment, there is not too much that we know about God Slayers or the magic in terms of its origins or the reason why it was created and how people can gain God Slayer magic. The only real way we can figure this out is the fact that they've learned it through books or magic spells or characters that know of this type of magic that existed in the past. Like Dragon Slayer magic, God Slayer magic is a type of lost magic. Magic that has been lost to the ages and not many people either know of its existence or even begun to learn about it. Now, God Slayer magic is essentially an ancient form of caster magic that was used by attaining the abilities of a god, which also had certain elemental properties, similar to the Dragon Slayers. Now, like Dragon Slayer magic, the purpose of God Slayer magic is to slay gods. Now, the reason why this had to be created in the first place is lost to time, and I might have some speculations on what this was used for. But each God Slayer has a different type of elemental magic, like Fire God, Lightning God, and Sky God. These are the 3 known God Slayers that we have seen in action in the Fairy Tail series. The characters that use these are Zonkro from Grimoire Heart, Sharia Blendy from Lamia Scale, and Orga Nanagir from Sabertooth. And Zonkro we see in the Tenro Island arc when he fought Natsu. Sharia and Orga were in the Grand Magi games, and we saw them fight their own respective opponents. Now, what's interesting about God Slayer magic is that unlike Dragon Slayer magic, and later on a different Slayer type magic called Demon Slayer magic, these types of magics have a black tint to them. They are all one singular color based off their elements. So the Fire God has black fire, the Sky God has more of a feather-like air to it with a full-on black tint, and the Lightning God has black lightning. Pretty easy to understand stuff. Now, one thing that they do have in common with Dragon Slayers is that they're able to consume their representative element. If it's fire, they can eat fire, lightning, lightning, and so on and so forth. And it's used to replenish their energies, as well as give them a bit of a boost. And just like Dragon Slayers, they are unable to eat the element that they themselves produce. However, they are easily able to devour Dragon Slayer magic based off their own element, like Zonkro and Sharia did when they fought against Natsu and Wendy. However, the opposite is not true. They cannot eat the magical power element from a God Slayer. The only reason Natsu was actually able to do so was when he burnt out and emptied out his own magic reserves, so that he'd basically be an empty vessel in order to absorb that particular element. And like Dragon Slayers, God Slayers have a variety of different movesets pertaining to each individual Slayer. Now, interesting piece of trivia is that the God Slayers movesets are actually named after gods from different mythologies. For example, the Fire God's Kagutsuchi, which is named after the Japanese god of fire. The Sky God's Boreas is named after the Greek god of the northern winds, and so on. So, based off of that, the different movesets are based off of alternate gods from alternate mythologies in our world, which honestly is a very nice detail, and I kind of like, and I want to see more God Slayers introduced into the story, hopefully in 100 Years Quest, even though they haven't been seen in a bit. Wishful thinking, but hey, I'm nothing if not optimistic. Now, unlike Dragon Slayers, God Slayers don't get taught by actual gods. They don't have lacrima placed into their chest with the properties of the God Slayers. They don't eat the flesh of gods. There only really seems to be one way for someone to get this power, and that is to read in a book how to have access and learn the spells for God Slayer magic. We learned this because Sharia in the Grand Magi games was stated to have come across this magic in a book and then began to learn and master it. And it also lines up with the fact that Zonkro learned this magic after following Hades when he entered Grimoire Heart. And since Hades has been studying lost and ancient magics, it would make sense that in his vast library he would have found God Slayer magic or Fire God magic, that Zonko would later learn, just like how Ultir ended up learning Arc of Time magic, which was a lost type of magic as well. So the only real barrier to entry is being able to have access to a book that has Godslayer magic in it, and then basically dedicate your life to learning such things. Now, unlike Dragon Slayers, where they essentially become dragons after using their powers too much, God Slayers don't seem to have any real drawbacks, just like Dragon Slayers. Now, I stated before that this type of magic was used to slay gods. However, we don't really fully know the intention or the origins of this magic and why it was created. We can only assume that there might have been an age of gods where humans had no choice but to fight off against the gods by creating their own type of magic, just like how Dragon Slayers had their magic to fight off against dragons in an ancient war, and that could also be why Demon Slayer magic initially exists as well. Now, personally, this next portion of the video is kind of a minor theory and a bit of headcanon on my part on how this was created, but bear with me on this. So, with the tint of the magic being black, similar to how Zeref magic is, a basic Zeref worshipping cold/dark guild had someone with Godslayer magic and was taught by the guild master who was obsessed with Zeref and the origins of magic, and later on Jalal almost mistaking Shelia for having a connection to Zeref through her Godslayer magic, even though it was later found out that that was the Eclipse Gate. My own real personal headcanon and theory is that Zeref initially created the Godslayer magic in an attempt to potentially get rid of his curse, get him to be killed with the Godslayer magic that could be used to fight a god, or perhaps in some vague attempt to fight off or kill the god that cursed him in the first place. Obviously, this is just big old headcanon / tinfoil hat theory, but it would make sense for Zeref to create a boatload of lost magic in a vain attempt to get rid of his immortality or to find a way to actually die. As it does make sense, as I doubt he put all of his efforts into Natsu, END, being the one to kill him and get rid of his curse at the end. We saw this in the final arc where he went after Fairy Heart and Mavis, so it's most likely he tried multiple attempts in a way to get rid of his immortality. It's very likely that Godslayer magic was probably a byproduct of that. But again, that's my headcanon-like reason for it actually existing. We can obviously still get a bit more information later on down the road in 100 Years Quest, maybe another continuation of Fairy Tail or in some supplementary material, and I might end up making a second part to this video. But for now, that's everything you know about Godslayers. You can learn this magic from finding the lost books that have these spells within them. They were used to slay gods. They have similar properties as do Dragon Slayers, but are a bit stronger in terms of their utilization of magic. Though, as we see in Fairy Tail, dragons are incredibly powerful in and of themselves, and the magic of their element is tinted black. Very simplistic, not too much really to dive too deep into, but I still stand by my theory that it was a byproduct or creation of Zeref in an attempt to get rid of his immortality. But that's really all we know about Godslayers, and that's what I wanted to tell you guys about today. Bit of a shorter video today, so I hope you guys enjoyed. I might do Demon Slayer magic in the future, and I'll probably explore other types of magic from Fairy Tail as well, probably Celestial Spirits. But what do you guys think? Did you enjoy this shorter video and my little headcanon type thing on the reasons for its creation? And what other things do you want me to talk about for Fairy Tail in the future? Let me know in the comments section down below. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe, hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. It really helps and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. And with all that said and done, I hope you all have an awesome day.